It. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No One Asked Us, episode 31. Today we have Erin Wester, who's the Chief Product Officer at Optimal Blue, where she leads product strategy for one of the mortgage industry's most widely used capital market platforms. Since joining in 2017, she has driven innovation across pricing, hedging, compliance, and AI-powered tools. Erin was named 2025 Housing Wire Vanguard for her impact on housing finance and fintech, and is known for building practical, transparent technology that actually gets used. Thank you, Erin, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I mentioned before, I've got all sorts of questions having looked at your profile. And the first one I want to just jump right into. Do you speak Chinese and Russian?
So I minored in Chinese
Mandarin,
and Russian.
Sorry, Mandarin, my bad.
That's fine. Yeah, I minored in Mandarin and Russian, yes.
So that was a boomer move right there. Right out of the gate. Never would have.
We are off to an excellent start.
Way to go, boomer.
Friday afternoon, people. Come on. Okay. All right. Mandarin and Russian.
Don't ask me if I speak Indian.
I gotta do it. Chris speaks Mexican.
Oh, man.
All right. Sorry, Erin. Go ahead. Please.
No, that's fine. Yes, I minored in school and college in Mandarin and Russian. Do I speak them still today? Я говорю по-русски немножко. I've got a little bit of my Russian left. My Mandarin is definitely rocky, but I actually still have all my books back here. Language studies was a passion of mine growing up, even, and to this day, just a little less time for it, unfortunately.
But I'm fascinated. What makes someone, at a young age go, I really want to learn Mandarin and Russian? Like I want to tackle two incredibly difficult languages at the same time. I mean, that's just crazy to me.
That's a great question. I didn't think about it quite like that at the time. I went to the wonderful University of South Carolina, go Gamecocks, and they have an international business school, and it's highly competitive. So I picked languages and areas that interest me at the time that I thought would, help me in my application into the program. And I always thought Cyrillic languages and are very beautiful. So I just, kind of dove right in. And like I said, I had a passion for it. I enjoyed it. So it wasn't like, as much work per se, and more of like a passion.
All right.
And what was your major?
International business and marketing, actually. And here I am in fintech.
Yeah.
Well, we joke on this show that like nobody grows up wanting to be in mortgage tech. Like no little kid is like, I really want to be a product officer in mortgage tech. So what sort of led you, like, if you could talk about sort of the path of like, hey, I'm going to do international business, to waking up and finding yourself, CPO of one of the largest fintech companies in the mortgage space?
Well, like any young college student, I thought I could come out and just conquer the world, and I wanted, originally to be part of the CIA or Saatchi and Saatchi, and those kinds of companies, and the real world kind of hit me in the face when I graduated, and I interned in college for a company called Avista Solutions, which was out of, at that time, Columbia, South Carolina, and moved to Charleston, South Carolina, run by Mark and Judy Flieger. It was a web-based loan origination platform that was primarily targeted to the wholesale market. And I interned there in school. I loved the technology side of it. That's where I really got my chops in mortgage. You start in the LOS space, and you're baptism by fire on all things. But yeah, it's by fate, I guess, or some sick, cruel joke. I guess we'll never know. But haven't really left since.
Okay, so there is an interesting thing on your resume that I am curious, because having lived near Mooresville for a while, obviously, like, so you have spent your entire career, for the most part, in fintech, right? But you have this one period with Lowe's, and I'm curious to know how that came about and what that was like, because what a gigantic shift industry wise.
This is probably one I probably shouldn't be honest on, but I'm going to go ahead and be honest on. So in the LOS world, as I mentioned, I got to know, soup to nuts, all things mortgage as it relates to the banks and financial institutions we were implementing. We became mortgage by LOS. We were acquired by D&H and became mortgage by LOS. So at the time, that's where I was. And I had been through a few regulatory changes, GFE HUD back in 2010. I had been a part of, there's been, a number of them along the way. But TRID really kicked my ass, if I'm being honest. And I was like, when we got through it, I was like, I'm done with anything regulated by the government. I want to try something totally different. And for 6 whole months, I was free working for Lowe's corporate out of Mooresville, North Carolina. And then the centripetal force that is mortgage sucked me right back in, and came back in. And I have a feeling I'm going to be one of those lifers, but I love it now, especially being in the capital market side.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, definitely a different world.
The mafia.
Yes.
For those who don't know, if you go to that portion of North Carolina, you will not find a Home Depot. Like Lowe's has just like, when I moved to North Carolina in 2014, I was like, where's the Home Depot? And they were like, oh yeah, we don't have those. Like, we just have Lowe's. That's it.
Erin, what was the LOS world like when you first joined the space? Like, that must have been a different time compared to now, where there's like, that's like a very hot space now. I wonder what it was like back then.
Oh yeah. So it is very different now. But we were 100% web-based. One of the few, if not the first at the time, many years ago. But we were, fighting against the 800-pound gorillas in the space. Had some success in the wholesale space, and really kind of grew it and became a pretty strong competitor, I feel, because it's hard. It's hard in the LOS space, hard to be an up-and-comer there. I still think that's kudos to the folks doing it today. But yeah, it was a very different time. The infrastructure, the software, the technology was very different. So adapting quickly to regulatory changes our clients' needs was trickier. But it was fun. I think it gives such good perspective, especially in my job now. You think about the piece of software you own, but in mortgage, everything is plugged into everything else. And knowing that full life cycle and how it impacts your customer from start to finish, even tangential to the things that run alongside you, I think is hyper important to be able to deliver something that's actually useful. So I'm forever grateful for the perspective it gave me, but very happy to be out of it now.
So can we talk a little bit about, Optimal Blue? Like, I feel like, as it's affectionately referred to, OB, is one, you're right up there, I would say, with ICE, right? In terms of recognizable brands within the space. And I think everybody, or at least me, when I hear OB, I think product and pricing. Engine, right? And I think that's kind of, I at least see it as like, that's sort of your bread and butter. But do you mind kind of talking about, you guys do so much, right? So do you kind of mind talking a little bit about, everything that, Optimal Blue is solving for these days? Yeah,
happy to. I think that's a common association of the company to a product. The Optimal Blue company tied to the PP product and pricing engine product. But we are very much more than that. So Optimal Blue is an end-to-end capital markets solution. And really what that means is it starts from, the counterparty onboarding platform through our Comergence platform, through the product and pricing engine that facilitates, the buy-side locks for lenders direct to their consumers, through the selling and execution of our hedging and trading platform. And then what surrounds all of that is the exhaust from all of our platforms that make very rich data products for us to be able to sell into not only our customer base, but industry players in the market in general. And then there's all different sorts of offshoots that are important, but parts of those different kind of major product lines, if you will, like our product and pricing engine. Most people think about our correspondent platform, our lender platform, but we also have a broker PPE called Loan Sifter that we also support and run off the same engine. So there's lots of different products within products, if you will. But the punchline is we want to have our customers covered from managing their counterparty relationships through the execution of their buy-side locks and into whether it be best efforts or mandatory selling of those loans.
Do you have a favorite child? So like I look at it that way, right? Like you've got all these different products, right? And maybe this is like asking you if you have a favorite child, but is there one particular, like right now, not necessarily like over all time, but like is there one particular area that gets you like a little bit more jazzed when that's where you're focused right now?
It is like asking me if I have a favorite child. So
Of course you do not.
Of course I don't. Right. My favorite child is probably our employees, because I think they're what makes everything
Good
work.
answer.
But I'll give you a real answer as well, or a direct answer. Our API platform is this where I came in. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. You better say that. That's our history right there.
Right. As Mace knows, our relationship first began on the Optimal Blue API platform. And the beauty of that is it spans all of our product lines, but it's also, I think, what helped, springboard us quite a bit into the now.
Can you talk more about, I mean, obviously Chris knows what it is, but can you talk more about what that product is and who it serves and how it gets used for the guy who knows nothing, clearly?
Yeah, I'm not buying that, Andrew. I think but I'll give you I'll definitely answer the question. So the API platform, or the beauty, I think, of the Optimal Blue API platform is we truly treat it like a product. We don't treat it as just a way to integrate. And here's, our Swagger definition. We put not only, a customized developer portal that I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in with a lot of folks at Optimal Blue back in, oh man, what was that? Like 2015 era, maybe a little bit before then. And we really productized it. So we did that from, what I'll call like a marketing play, if you will, on being able to advertise the APIs in a way that described use case versus, here's our JSON REST APIs and here's the URL that you call. It's like these APIs serve this purpose and can help you achieve these goals. And then we put a whole team around the consultative side of that to really help people become successful with our APIs. And I think the real catalyst for that was creating these alternative solutions for our customers that didn't, force us to build disparate workflows to fit a specific problem. And we gave them the tools to be able to fix those problems themselves or fix them through partners like Mace Innovations.
There you go.
Erin, you've been in the mortgage space long enough, but like right now there's a lot of hype around like AI, what companies are able to do with that, and what lenders are able to do with it. But with your work you've done here with the API stuff, a lot of times we see lenders saying, oh, we're going to leverage AI for X, Y, and Z, when for 15 years, or it's like 10 years now, you've had this API that could possibly just automate it if they just integrate it properly. So how do you navigate that? It sounds like maybe that resonates with your experience as well.
It does. It does. I think the definition of AI and the interpretation of AI are wildly different things. And I think, we never want to overcomplicate anything. So if a customer comes in and needs help doing something, we're not going to say, okay, well, we could build an AI enabled tool to do that if we've already got a tool that does it today. And I think a lot of what APIs did help for is just data structure. And I think data structure is important to have successful AI implementations because it helps with, reliance in the organization, the cleanliness of the data, the ease of the prompts being recognized properly. And the API structure that we used, I think, greatly helped in that arena. But yes, we're very disciplined, and AI for the sake of AI is not what we're in the game of. It's, what can we build that's AI enabled that will truly be impactful? And I know everybody says that, and I'm sure a lot of people, operate under that mantra, but it does take a very disciplined lens to make sure that you're staying true to that.
It does,
100%. Yeah. And especially right now, because it's we've talked about this before, but it's so interesting how everybody is now a technologist. So Chris and I spoke at a conference last quarter on AI in the mortgage space, and there's maybe like 150 people in the room, and we asked like, how many people in the room are in technology or in IT? And 2 people, Aaron, 2 people. The rest of the room was like salespeople and operations, and so
Over 100 people.
Oh, wow.
Over 100 people in the room.
Yeah, and it was so interesting to me that now all of a sudden it's like you've got everybody who has an opinion on technology without necessarily like kind of fully, which I think has some huge positives. Don't get me wrong. I think it brings a lot of people to the conversation. But to your point, like we even hear it where people are like, oh, well, we should do, XYZ. And it's sort of like, why?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like, don't do AI for AI. Like, I think a lot of the like Rocket and UWM and like what they've been talking about, I'm not going to say necessarily doing, but talking about in the marketplace makes a lot of people feel like they need to rush to get some form of AI, whether or not it actually has ROI and gives lift to the employees.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think the ROI piece is really important because we talk a lot about AI, but the technologists or the folks that are writing the check on the investments into it really need to make sure, the decisions are made. There's smart decisions are being made because this is not just like with anything. This is not free, but even more so than just adding something to your cloud, right? There's a price tag
Cost.
to all of this, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're creating AI and it's not being used right away, I don't think that's necessarily scary yet, because I do think there's still a pretty substantial learning curve in getting people comfortable with leveraging it. I think there's especially in the mortgage space where, highly regulated, risk averse, and, trying to make sure everyone's being, taking a non-biased approach to everything that they're doing. So I think helping educate people and more importantly, getting them comfortable and confident in what you're building does take time, but it's more of, the constant monitoring. Is the usage chart heading in the right direction, or do you need to pivot? And I think that's where kind of the magic can happen, because as long as you're training the models in a way that can allow you to pivot quickly, but also safely, I think that helps set people up for success, because at some point you will strike gold. You just got to figure that out. And it's not as easy, I think, as people think. There are some low-hanging fruit use cases, but there's not,
it's not a magic bullet.
Right.
Well, I always say that like people either think it's way better than it is or way worse than it is. Like I think the vast majority of the population doesn't actually understand where the capabilities are. And you do, like, to your point, you get people who think like, oh, well, it can just solve anything. And it's like, okay, slow down. It's like I see these posts on LinkedIn where people are like, AI is taking your job 2 years from now. And I'm like, yeah, no. Like, I can tell you, being close enough to it, it's like, it's good and it's got some really good use cases. But to your point, like, you have to spend a significant amount of time really dialing in, that piece in order for it to accomplish, especially in a heavily regulated area.
Right. I think there's a close correlation to APIs too. And APIs was the technology buzzword back in the day. Most people didn't really know, okay, well, what is it? I can't see it really or see a demo of it, if you will, to understand how to use it. We could pull up Postman, but no one's going to get too excited about that. I think it's similar enough where it just takes time. People will start seeing tangible use cases, and that'll get the creative juices going, and then people become more and more comfortable with trying things. And I think we're there. I think that's the phase we're in now. It's just we're all trying to figure out the right things. On our end, right, at Optimal Blue, the success we've found so far in our AI implementations is around embedded workflows. So no additional action needed to be taken out of things that they've been doing day after day, and just surfacing either we have some AI summaries from our hedging platform that our customers rely on heavily now, or suggestions on restructuring loan programs that occur at time of search in the PPE that have been successful. So that's where we found it, because it doesn't require retraining your user behavior. It's just happening alongside what they've already always been doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which back to your earlier point, I love that you brought up the demoing an API. So like our product, for instance, like we're built into where people already work, right? So like there's no, like, it's so funny, our demos tend to be like overly technical because I'm showing them the back end because there's no front end. And for a lot of AI, there's no front end interface, right? Like it just does the thing. And it's like, how do you demo something that's kind of invisible? So I love that you brought up the API, because that's actually a great comparison there.
Well, and I think it's funny. Something to note is Erin probably knows this better than anybody. Like how many technologists still just can't get an API to work on day one. Like you'd be surprised. You're like, there it is right there. There's a documentation. It's like, I've been trying to get this to work for 3 days. And it's like, I was told to call you, Mason. It's like, okay. But I do think it's interesting, Erin, that like as AI kind of got people's brains spinning, because like I've noticed what people are coming to us and being like, could you, and we've already harped on this before, but could Optimal Blue do this? And you're like, yeah, that Best X API was available 9 years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That hurts my heart when we get questions like that. I'm like, oh man, we could have helped you the moment this idea popped into your head. And it is like, I shame on us, right? Because it's it's all about making sure people know what you've got and how they can use it. And I think, like Andrew, to your point too, on the AI stuff, like everyone wants to see it. They want to see something, because that tangibleness of it helps bring vision to life. And it's the obscurity of these things that I think is probably overwhelming and can be, a hurdle for folks to adopt it. And I think the big difference between AI and APIs, right, is to your, like, AI is, you got to figure out how to use this, or I feel like my job's at stake. It's got a different level of pressure on it. Instead of with the API world, people would look to their vendors. Are you API first? Do you have APIs? It's more of like a due diligence checklist. Whereas now it's like, okay, I need a rush to figure out how to square peg round hole, make this work. And I think that's like the pressure that's being put on folks, be it real or hopefully not. I think is what's driving some of the conversations today.
Well, when you think about it, we've got, I don't know, depending on how you look at it, a decade and a half of what has been SaaS dominated technology, right? Mm-hmm. And SaaS was really, at the end of the day, fairly easy to sell, right? Because it's like, I have a product, it solves a clear solution. Here it is. Here's the front end of it. It's seat-based licensing, right? Like that's the way the world is operated. And now we've moved into AI, which is in a lot of instances what I would call invisible technology. And it's usage-based pricing. Actually, if nobody's listened to it, Mark Andreessen on the A16Z podcast did I think it was like 2026 predictions. It was a Q&A that was on last week, and like pricing was the thing that came up with AI, right? Where it's like, we're all still trying to figure out like, what is the market? Like there's this concept of like fair use pricing, and then there's like value-based pricing or usage-based pricing, and everybody's still trying to figure out like what's the right sort of avenue to go. But it's so different from SaaS, at least from where I sit, that you're really having to retrain everyone's psychology around the technology, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Especially as like you're mentioning, like a standalone AI offering that you're presenting.
Yeah.
Right. Where you got to price it somewhere to recoup cost. But how do you do that in a fair way and translate that back to tokens and everything else you're going to need to do on the back end to do, your own profitability analysis? And it'll be an art. I think that's where I think a new roles will emerge. An AI pricing analyst, and trying to figure out how to help with that. Yeah.
If anybody has one, please send it my way. Because you also deal with like a lot of like document processing, right? Mm-hmm. Like at least for us, right? So it's like, you're looking at document processing costs. You're looking at cloud is not that big of a deal, right? Like in the overall scheme of things, but then you have tokens, and it's like the client A is not equal to client B. And it is definitely, at least from the seat I sit in, I would say that one of the most difficult parts of AI is figuring out like what's the sort of perfect pricing approach with the product.
Oh, and really keeping that pricing elastic, because that is changing rapidly. Like, you could even try to do a cost plus API or cost plus AI pricing, but that target is moving all the time as well. And then how good are your like, I don't know if you looked at the context graphing and like, moving into even like the context RAG, and how good of an engineer can you get to trick the pricing out there? It's pretty interesting.
Yes, 100%. So Erin, I'm curious. So being the chief product officer at Optimal Blue, you guys have a massive client base, obviously. And like we mentioned, like everybody's got an opinion now. Now that everybody's got a ChatGPT account, everybody is an armchair CTO, if you will. What are your tips and tricks, if you will, for others out there of how you balance client ideas and what actually gets into the project plan, or the product pipeline, if you will?
Yeah, I love this question. I think there's two major funnels into the roadmap. I think there's many different tunnels and funnels into the roadmap, but there's two major funnels. And I think the first is hopefully, and at Optimal Blue, I deeply feel this, your product managers are plugged in to your clients well enough to know and be able to look at data in aggregate on the next best things to be putting into your next 4 quarters. If you have a strong, disciplined product team, that should be ideally second nature to what they're able to generate. And you want to do that to show, leadership and strength, because that helps with, building out things people need before they know they need it. And then the other side is the client requests. And I think that also takes a different kind of discipline, because a big thing that I try and do, and my team tries to do with our customers, is a lot of times customers will come with you with solutions. I need, X, Y, Z. And it's really okay, well, can you explain to me why? And then getting down to the problem they're looking to solve. So you can either say, we can solve your problem today. This is how we can solve your problem today with existing features, or this is how we can solve your problem tomorrow. And this is how I'm thinking about building this out to where it not only solves your need, but we think could, solve others who might be in similar situations in a more broad fashion, which I think is important for SaaS, because you need to think as globally as you can about your user base to make sure, you're delivering impactful features to as many customers as possible. But it's all about having those conversations, which are far more valuable than any mock-ups or requirements discussions that you can have, subsequent to that.
Also, as like a technologist, not to overcomplicate and overbuild.
Yes.
That's like a discipline of its own.
Over-engineering is a running joke here at OV. We do that in a lot of our conversations when people start speculating. We're like, okay, I think we're over-engineering the solution right now.
Well, and it's hard saying no to clients, right? Who are like, oh, I really want this thing. And it's like, yeah, and I mean, we even run into this as a startup, right? Where it's like, I get people who are like, I've got this amazing idea. And I'm like, cool, but you're the only person who's going to use it, right? Like, I can't be a dev shop for, this one particular client who wants this thing,
Right. And we've got, the breadth of folks that we have at Optimal Blue, even internally, right? When customers ask for things, we always want to find a path to yes. Just what does that yes mean? So sometimes it's, okay, this customer really does want something highly unique, highly customized to them. And then we can send them down, our professional services route. Or it's something that we can walk them through and say, hey, I know this is, you're looking for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Could this work? And like helping them through that. And then sometimes it's like, okay, I hear you. I hear what you want. We publish a rolling 4-quarter roadmap. Here are the things that we're working on now. Do you think this feature is more important than any of these other ones? And just having those kind of transparent conversations helps kind of re-regulate the conversation to where they know exactly where we're coming from. We hear exactly what they're looking for from us, but something fruitful still comes out of it at the end.
So Erin's clearly a mom. Like, she sounds like a child psychologist right now. So,
I don't let my kids find a yes ever. So yeah.
I was gonna say sometimes they just want to be heard.
Yeah. That's more my husband, PK. We don't hear him either. So,
By the way, I liked your post where you threw down the gauntlet of if anyone can get my 2 children to smile and stare at the camera at once.
Oh my gosh. I found an AI app that would do it for me. I was done dealing with it. So yeah. Toddlers, they are. Yeah.
Folks, if you've never used it, like my new like when we're talking about B2C, if you will, AI products, is Higgsfield AI. If nobody has used this, it is hands down the best image and video platform I have had or have found, where you can, and it normalizes. So to your point, you can upload several photos of your family and then tell it exactly what you want it to actually look like. And it is scary how spot on it is. Like, it blows like Gemini or ChatGPT or any of those out of the window. So,
speaking of which, Erin is going to have a new family photo this year because she's having another baby.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'll
plug
be
it into Higgsfield and you can make it come out.
Yeah.
We can predict. It would be kind of fun to have an AI predict what your third kid's going to look like.
I'll leave that one up for. I'll go traditional on that route. Thank you, Chris. I was joking with Mace earlier. I'll be 100 years old when this kid graduates high school, but we are very much excited. We're 3 girls, so everyone, my husband out there. But yes,
your husband was like, please, one boy.
He wanted like 1 Hot Wheels Christmas, and who knows?
No,
I was blessed to be able to see the reaction video, and he did a good job hiding it. He was very like. Amazing.
I had a good friend of mine who decided, they were like, well, we really wanted a boy. They had 2 girls. And they were like, all right, we'll try for the third. And they ended up with twins.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, sorry, buddy.
Parents of multiples. They're gold medalists. I don't know. I don't know how they do it.
You got a 4 for going there. So can we talk a little bit about, again, AI is, the buzzword to where I think we're starting to almost get exhaustion. Certainly if you go to the conferences, if you're on the conference circuit, it can get a little bit exhausting. But what are some of the, if you don't mind sharing, kind of initiatives or things that Optimal Blue has released where you're leveraging AI, or maybe where your head is at with the next couple of quarters of what you guys have on the roadmap?
Hold on, Andrew. Before we the guest last week, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this guest Daniel Gottesman. His question, because I think you pretty much asked it. So, Erin, we're going to ask you to ask a question for next week's guest. And last week's guest asked you, what do you wish for yourself and OB for the year of 2026?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. So, as I think probably most people sitting in my chair answering that question, just growth. We want growth both for our clients and in our client base, and we want to make sure that we're continuing to grow our product suite, to continue to bring innovation to the space, and continue to bring solutions that work for our customers. And I think we've got a very good plan to execute on that goal for the next 12 months.
Joe Tyrell approves of this message. I can tell you that.
Joe Tyrell is the driver of this message.
And what about personally? You do any of the New Year's resolutions? Do you do that?
No, I don't. If I'm being honest, I wish I could give some kind of quippy, cool thing, but I don't. And it's just survive the year and
Healthy baby.
yeah, healthy. Yes, healthy baby. That's yes.
Make it to 27. That was my New Year's resolution this year. Okay, but so we're gonna swing back to the AI question though. Like, how are you guys, thinking about it, right? And like where it makes sense, and have you guys rolled out anything, so far? And I don't know how public your roadmap is. So, are there things that in the next couple of quarters that you're really excited about? Again, if you can share, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as what we have today and what we've invested in and built over the course of, call it, the last 2 years and change, we have released on our hedging and trading platform a number of assistants, like our profitability assistant, our position assistant. Those are just some examples of how we take a look at a customer's pipeline, a hedge pipeline, and then surface relevant information every morning to the head of capital markets. So instead of staring and looking at reports or staring and looking at, right. And that's what I mentioned before. Our customers have come to very much rely on these. And, anytime something comes up or one of them is delayed on being sent, we're emailed immediately. Hey, where's my position assistant? Oh, it's coming. Just give it a second and it'll be there. And it's served as kind of creating and servicing, instead of looking at reports, servicing the data that's applicable to what they need to know, top 5 things that affected your position. And then they can just immediately start executing on it instead of wasting an hour and a half kind of staring and comparing and looking through those different reports. That's been highly successful on our Compass Edge platform. On our PPE platform, we released our Originator Assistant, and that last year, and that is the ability for anytime an originator or a loan officer or TPO user runs a search, we have it consistently running in the back end saying, within reason, if you're able to consolidate debt and reduce your DTI by 1%, you get a better price, or you could get the product borrower eligible for a better product. And the beauty of that is, the originator has to do nothing to engage it. It's always running. And then also it helps make the customer more competitive and gets the borrower in a better priced home or better priced product for their home. And then it also eliminates human bias, right? So instead of, doing what you always do and getting comfortable with the conforming 30-year fixed product that returns, it really helps think outside the box, especially for new loan officers, that are still learning where all the corners are on all the LLPA and matrices and grids out there. It services those for them. And that's been very successful as well. And then we have our generative AI executive assistant, Ask Obi, that takes a look at all of your optimal blue data. So if you're an enterprise customer, it's everything from quote to execution, and answers questions at a holistic level about either their lock pipeline or their hedge pipeline, or both.
How have your capital markets guys received this? If I was them, I'd be a little bit, a lot of these guys get into positions and they do a lot of knowledge walls to maintain the. It seems like you already know where I'm going, but
yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Right? How do we make them feel that we're supporting them and not trying to replace some of the things that they had been doing? And really, it's just freeing up the stare and compare kind of tasks that they'd have to do that they shouldn't have to be doing anyways. And servicing that, they're still telling the full story, right? The context of those changes is still going to be highly specialized to the customer and outside the data set that probably any of their vendors, house. So they still need to wrap this into the context of how they're managing against policy, or how they're, decisions they're making from a corporate level and presenting that. We're just really kind of streamlining that data for them to make that an easier asset or output for them. So in the beginning, it was more of like a trust thing. Can I trust the information that's coming from this to be accurate and correct? And once they found that they could trust it, then it became, okay, now this is just a necessity.
Now it's invaluable, and I haven't had my report, and it's 1 minute after 8 a.m.
Yeah, it's like, relax.
Well, I love that you guys did tasking though. Like that's actually something that's in our roadmap now, because we've had people who've come, and I don't think it's talked about that much. It's really kind of interesting because, like, I mean, I'd love to get the rest of y'all's intake on this one, but ChatGPT released tasking. I forget when last year. I mean, it was maybe 6 months ago or something like that. And I'll for one, I'll be the first to admit, like, I kind of sort of used it in the beginning, but I couldn't really find like great use cases, and I stopped using it. But I think when you get into the B2B world, this is where tasking is going to make so much more sense, right? Of like, to your point, like, okay, each morning, like, just automatically go ahead and let me know this data set, what's going on, the ability to visualize that data. I feel like 26 is going to be a lot more of us seeing more and more tasking that's being created.
I agree. And I think once you kind of figure out a good space for it, it becomes, a world of possibilities kind of opens up, because then it's easier to be like, oh, and that could work over here or over here. At least that's what we've found so far. But yeah, that's what we have today. So our Ask OB, our Edge assistants, and our Originator assistant. And then we have a lot more coming in 2026. Our customer summit is in February in Arizona, and we'll be debuting a number of things there that I would like to keep a little bit behind the scenes for now. I don't want to steal my own thunder. Yeah,
I'll crash the party in Arizona.
Please do. Please do.
I'm always curious.
Those years that you talked about.
Hold on, PK. PK, you might want to do an input change real quick.
Yeah, you got a weird voice going on there.
A little. There you go.
I'm gonna say
the microphone in prison is not working.
It was connected to my AirPods, and my AirPods are in here, so it's kind of, I don't know how that happened. But I was gonna say, like, I think those examples you shared are like initial kind of like sparks. They're kind of like the Costco samplers of the AI stuff that you can do, and then you get them to trust it, and then start thinking of like other solutions they can bring to the table, and like you get the customer involved, and they start thinking of other ways that maybe things you can build for them, but it at least starts that conversation and shows them that there are new ways of working with this technology, and that it's not like coming after your job.
Right. And I think, I'm sure, hopefully you guys will agree with me here, that the other beauty of getting something out there that customers are comfortable and want to use, the extra benefit of that is they use it. So you get more data on your AI models. You can keep training it, keep fine tuning it, and then you're able to do more in the future. So the more the use cases you get out there that people are comfortable using, the better products you'll be building in the future that could be, more on the complex end of customers kind of engaging with it. That's been a very big added benefit for us, because it's taught us a lot about training the models, because it's very much a living, breathing organism, unlike other products where you deliver and you sit and you wait, and then you hear about enhancements, and then you go in and you prioritize those enhancements. This is like, no, you need to be managing your prompts. You need to be managing against the model daily to make sure that you're keeping up with not only the latest and greatest versions, but semantics, different ways, especially in our industry,
Oh, God, yeah.
So all the different ways to say the same thing, all the different acronyms. The acronyms was a fun part of that Ask OB project, and making sure we had all those covered as much as we could.
Well, and so you bring up the greatest point that Chris and I have stood on soapboxes talking about this one, right? Which is, with the advent of vibe coding and Replit and Lovable and all these things, everybody's like, oh, I'm just going to go build my own thing, and it's like nobody talks about maintaining, and it's like if you thought maintaining with traditional SaaS was friggin' difficult, like, to your point, like, we've got, I don't know, 17 models or something in the background. It's like we're constantly having to pay attention to how are the models reacting to our prompt engineering, Where do we need to change the prompt engineering? What new models are coming out? What updates to what models? Like, I mean, it's a full-time daily job just to stay on top of that stuff.
Right. Because you got to feed it every day, and it is a full-time job for sure. But as long as you're doing it, you reap the benefits. Your customers reap the benefits.
Right. I wonder if 26, it'll be interesting to see, like, looking back at the end of this year, right, what actually ended up being the sort of trends, right? Like I mentioned, like, I think tasking will be a big thing, but I wonder also if one of the trends this year is going to be people finally figuring out that they can't build their own crap.
Yeah.
Like, because I wonder if we'll get enough failures coming out of 25 to where people finally go, okay, it is hard to build and maintain this stuff, and we need people who, like yourself, like Chris, PK, me, who that's what we do, right? Like that's our sole focus in life.
Right. Like you brought up, like, in life, it does feel like that, doesn't it? And like your examples of like Replit, Lovable, those UI AI generation tools, it's the back end services and the soundness and the scalability and the structure that take, someone who's been trained and educated around infrastructure and deployment and all of those principles that in order to have a stable, secure, scalable platform, you have to have a keen eye and a background, and that's that's why I feel like the development team, no matter where you are, right, to embrace AI will help make them better developers. But you will always need developers and architects and infrastructure folks to be able to make sure that in the larger picture, not just this one prompt of adding this one page, this one workflow fits and is reliable for your customers, especially as you continue to grow. So they're tools, in my opinion, on like the requirements and like engaging customers for serving. Is this looking the way you think it would look? Like, I think that's where things will help. But as far as, and maybe implementing and importing into the code, but having someone go through and verify and code check everything is still vital, especially, where we are today.
Do you find that it's able to help you guys more internally too? Because I mean, Optimal Blue, I was in high school, and I think I was OB customer number 3 or 4 at Home Loan Corporation, right? Back with Larry and Yvonne days.
Yes.
And then all the way to where we are now. And as you know, like the OB rule engine has got a few renditions. And like sometimes when you're in the weeds, like, if you've been using this in 2009, you might be doing a rule this way or a dynamic markup or, but have you guys been able to kind of internally be like, ooh, we can kind of maybe segregate some stuff, revamp it? Or have you thought about like, have you ever had any developers be like, can I just file new a little backend over here? Like, can I tell me how have you had to get them to pump the brakes?
Oh, well, so a couple things, because that was a very good example. So we have Seaver, our CTO, hosts 2 hackathons a year. Our past few have been generative AI focused and machine learning focused. And Andrew, we do have a machine learning tool that we're really excited to release, and we'll be announcing that in February. So that's my teaser for you. But so we do have developers now coming out of the woodworks with ideas, which is wonderful. It's honestly the more voices, the better always. And it's the job of the product team to sift through that, prioritize and organize. But more voices, the better. And, nobody knows the system and where the bodies are buried like a senior developer who's worked on highly complex areas of the system, like our engine. Right. And shout out to Erning. He's one of our lifer developers. He's been with the company a very long time, and we have a wonderful AI solution that we're going to call EZ Rules that will debut in February as well. And easy to a shout out to him. Those are his initials, but also easy for our play on words there. But so yes, they have been an excellent source of ideas. They've helped get the creative juices going. But in order, we always have to bring, and same's true for everybody back down to earth on, that's a great idea, but will customers actually use it? Will it actually impact the customers in a measurable way? And those are sometimes you feel like a dream crusher when you have to have those kinds of conversations, but it's been great to have them really kind of pour their heart and soul into it. It makes everybody care, everybody care even more. And that's a wonderful kind of exhaust of all of this as well. But good news, Mace, we did release Rules Optimizer that made rule distribution and creation last year to help demystify some of the stuff that was plaguing you back then.
Okay, so I have a question you may or may not be able to answer. So maybe I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'm curious, as we've seen more and more companies like Salesforce and HubSpot and others who've moved to an MCP architecture around their APIs. Is there any plan at OB to do the same, or is that sort of something that's much further down the roadmap?
So we are exploring all options. That would be a large infrastructural change, right? So
yeah.
We are,
oh yeah. No. Totally recognize that. Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, honestly, it's the same thing with AI. You've got to start evaluating, planning, and seeing, how fast can you get to where you want to be and at what cost. Be that literal cost, or be that, I have to set these things aside to get this done. So we explore all of those options, because, the last thing you want to do is come up short on not understanding what something would take, especially if you're asked by a customer or, on a podcast. So, we are looking at all things right now. We're not seeing an immediate need or lift for us to do that just yet.
Got it.
But
I don't think that's like, while we see it in like tech circles, I don't think like our customers are using that language and saying, hey, can you build this for me? At least that's what I've seen.
No. If there's one thing out there that like I have not had anybody bring up with me is MCP. Like that I am certain of. But for somebody like us, like we have everything is built out in MCP. And so, for us, it's always something that we're really interested in, because doing an integration with Salesforce is very different. For us versus, what was sort of the traditional API. So that's just why I was kind of curious there. Okay. So before we run out of time, and so that I don't forget. So I don't know, did you give Erin a heads up on who she has to ask the question of next week?
Of course.
She doesn't know. Okay. So next week's an interesting episode, because it's our first CFO that we've ever had on the show, Mina Saman, who is currently the CFO at Be Smarty. Mina actually is based in Chicago. He spent a tremendous amount of time in the startup arena. He was early on at Groupon and really grew with Groupon and a bunch of other companies. So we don't forget and we get it documented. What is your question for Mina for next week?
I was so glad I got a CFO to get to ask a question to. So on the product side, we're responsible for our P&Ls. So I work very, very closely with our CFO here at Optimal Blue, Lanny. And I am curious on Mina's thoughts on what makes the best executive partner or senior leader partner to the CFO.
Chris, are you writing that down, or am I?
Don't worry, I got it.
You got it? Okay, Chris has got it. We used to have this problem, Erin, where we didn't like write down the question, and then all three of us would forget the next week. And they're always like expecting the boomer to friggin' remember it. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why can't the Gen Zer on this call?
Gen Z.
The millennial. I had a question real quick. I was gonna say, Erin, you're a product person. So what are the watering holes you're going to keep a pulse on all the AI stuff and just tech? Where do you go to like learn new things and see, keep a pulse on the tech side?
So like formally through the company, right, we do a lot of trainings. We're a big Microsoft partner, and Microsoft's, a great partner to us. And so we just recently had some really in-depth generative AI training. We also had machine learning training. They are able to kind of talk about our use cases and make it specific and dedicated to the way that we run our business. Those have been very helpful. And then, we also have dedicated architects on our side who go to those conferences and then bring back their learnings and kind of train the trainer type mantra there. And then personally, On the product side, I really love Lenny's podcast. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. It's a podcast for product folks.
Great.
I love it. I listen to it almost every time he's got a new episode. I take a walk around the neighborhood and I listen to it. And
His blog post is really good too. Like they're really well written.
Yes, I get those So I'm a big fan of that, and then I learn a lot, kind of tangentially, but also I think a lot of it applies to our space as well because he keeps it pretty kind of generic enough to apply it to whatever industry you're in.
What's the most amount of money you've ever won in Vegas, and was it with me?
It was with Chris. Actually, I will not play blackjack with anyone else anymore. In fact, I don't gamble a lot, but when I do, it's with Mace. So
it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I walked away with over $10,000. It was pretty nice.
I was not that lucky, just for the record to state. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I always curious, more on the personal front than the professional front. What is your model of choice? GPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok?
I'm worried I'm going to get judged for my answer, but I'm going to be honest. I am a GPT user, but I'm a paid. I do pay because I like the upgraded versions, and that helps me out a lot, and I use it religiously. In fact, I had that prep me for questions that could potentially come out of this podcast. It does a great job of looking at stuff like that. So
I think as the general personal use tool, I find that GPT is the best of them. I find Claude for writing tends to be a little bit better. And then Gemini for anything, obviously, that's like huge context, things of that nature. Tends to remember. But yeah, I'm a GPT. Mace is a Claude. We already know that.
I use them all. I have paid for all of them. Except for Grok. I was
gonna say
I don't use Grok.
Yeah, no. Who uses Grok? I don't understand. Like, it's like you telling me use Meta. Like,
I'll close my mouth.
That's fair enough. Okay, couple more like just quick fire questions. What's an AI buzzword you're officially tired of hearing?
Oh man.
MCP.
Yeah, fair. I would actually like to use that one. Yeah, that's very fair. Because I feel like a lot of the AI buzzwords are just tech buzzwords in general. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, MCP is probably my answer if I'm going to get.
There we go. Way to go, Andrew. Fastest. I'm just failing on this.
No, I'm just.
It's okay as long as we entertain people. Fastest signal that a product is going to fail.
Low adoption for 6 months.
All right. First product metric you check in the morning.
Usage.
All right, there you go.
Where should lenders be investing this year?
What did you say?
Where should lenders be investing in technology this year?
Oh, that's a good question.
Optimal Blue.
No,
I think besides Optimal Blue, I think as technology providers too, we should be coming together and giving customers good questions to ask all of their vendors. I think it's easy to be duped these days, and I think having a solid list of questions that they feel confident in understanding what a good answer and what a bad answer is. I think would help in any vendor by choice that they have, and making sure that they're not taking anyone else's word for it, but either trusting or not trusting what the vendor is telling them. And I think that's on us. I think the technology providers need to help customers know what that is.
That we do need some sort of a solution there. I mean, I know we see, particularly being an AI only, AI focused company, is there's so much vaporware that's come into the space that like it's maddening because you've got potential customers that are having to wade through the sea of garbage, and it's like it's hard to even know like where to start, who to trust, what to do from that perspective. So definitely agree. What's the most underrated skill for a modern CPO?
Charisma. I think you have to have a large amount of charisma because your job at the at the senior leader level is, making sure that you can get as many people outside of your department on board with your plan as possible. And that takes a lot of, just social skills, people skills. And I think that's the kind of the most underrated, because the obvious ones are knowing your product, knowing your customer, knowing your team, knowing how to deploy software. But I think if you want to be a successful CPO, making sure that you can influence in the proper way, and a lot of that just has a lot to do with charisma.
There you go.
Which Mace will tell you if I have or not, so we'll see.
Fortunately, I would say, Erin, after the last hour, that you have quite a bit.
Oh, thank you.
Erin, thank you so much. That is a wrap for us here today. Really appreciate your time learning more about you and Optimal Blue and all things product. So
thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Everybody, we will see you back here next week for the great Mina Saman from Be Smarty. Have a great